Hey, everybody, and welcome back to For the Booze.
Welcome back to For the Booze.
For the Booze.
Coming back after Thanksgiving, rolling into, I guess, what is really the holiday season, right? I mean, when we think holiday season, it's Christmas.
Christmas, yes, absolutely.
So here we are. Anything new? No?
No.
I already knew. I don't even know I asked. I'm going to ask every time, but.
We put up our Christmas decorations. That's exciting.
We did.
We still have to decorate the tree, though. But it's up. And our new train is under the tree.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think I played with it more than the kids.
It's so cool.
I've had a lot of fun with it.
I love it. It's a great new addition to the Christmas stuff.
But we are coming off of undoubtedly one of the saddest stories we have told all year long.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a bummer. And I alluded in the last episode that we would be going back and redoing our first 3 episodes.
Yes.
But as we started to do that, I thought, well, do we really need to redo it? Or maybe we can just continue the story.
Oh, continuation.
So what we're going to do for everybody who's been with us all year, or, well, everybody who listens, really, you didn't have to be here all year, but mostly the people who from the beginning will realize that we have talked about these topics already.
Yes.
So we wanted to go back and kind of lighten up the last month towards the end of our year, leading up to the final episode of the year, which will be a complete rehaul of Waverly Hills.
Yay.
So in this episode, we're going to continue. I don't really know what to call it, honestly. I don't know if it's a continuation. It's kind of like a redo, revisit, 2.0, continuation. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's just some more stuff. I think what basically brought it about was that we really went hard on them in that first episode.
Yes. But it was our first episode. We sat down and we didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't. And we did have a preconceived notion of who and what we thought they were.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's throw all our biases to the side. Okay? Let's not look at it in tunnel vision.
Okay.
We have how we feel about them. But let's put all that aside because I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably love them. And to be fair, anybody listening, we love the show too.
We do. One of my close friends at work, she absolutely loves
I
Ghost
love this
Adventures.
show. I love this show.
Like, hands down, she is 100% in. 100%.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people who are like her.
Yes.
That absolutely 100% undoubtedly believe in Ghost Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the year, I've thought, well, maybe we were wrong.
Maybe.
Maybe we were wrong.
A lot, so
I say we go into this one and we go in more with an open mind.
Okay.
We try to forget all the years that we've had behind us of making fun of Zach. And let's think of this. Let's think of this as a whole. Now, I will say that the majority of this will be centered around Zach because I don't care what anybody says. They might call it Ghost Adventures, but it is Zach Baggins' Haunting Hour.
He is the star of the show.
He is. I mean, he's only one of 3 founding members, but he is undoubtedly the star of the show. So The majority of it will be focused around him, but will not only pertain to just Zach. And for those of you who listened from the beginning, we're going to kind of take this back as the tip of the hat to the old ways. And we're not going to be doing this in the same kind of like musical, storied sound effects format. We're going to be here to just kind of further the discussion. We're going to sit down together. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk to each other as we go along. And this is, I want to see if maybe we change our minds by the end of this.
Okay.
I think this is our one shot to really see if we can take back all those mean things we said almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago. It has been a year.
Almost. It's almost been a year. I think it's, what's today's date?
The 2nd, I think.
Yeah, don't say that. Then they'll know that we're not, well, I guess I would have to know that we're not recording on the same day. Yes, the 2nd. I think our first episode came out on the 27th. So we are almost exactly a year into this.
And it has been Such a great ride.
Oh, it's been super fun.
We have absolutely loved it. And we have loved what our show has come into and what we've made it into compared to the beginning. So hopefully, I mean, this isn't going to be our Stephen story and then a Megan story and then we chat in the end. I mean, we are going to take it back, like we said, to the beginning where we just kind of had an open discussion about stuff.
For these next two anyway.
Yes.
For those who might not be so thrilled about it, don't worry. We're not changing the show. We will be going back to our regular format. This is just something fun we thought we could do for the holiday season, was maybe just redo a couple of the old ones that maybe weren't the greatest.
No.
Maybe for some redemption. We'll call these the redemption episodes.
Oh, there we go.
And, you know, we'll just try to grow on those a bit. We'll try to open our minds a bit. So, like I said, if you're not that into this style of podcasting, don't worry. I promise you, we have our show on lock. So it will be going back to normal after these next two, because the finale of the year will be in the style that you want it to be in, and it's going to be really good.
Super excited about that one. I'm so excited.
I have to write it, and I can't wait to do it. So let's start this off. Okay, now Ghost Adventures, originally a documentary filmed by three men, but undoubtedly the name has become synonymous with Zach Bagans. You know what? I'm going to do him right on this. Zach Bagans.
Okay.
I'm going to give him the respect. Open mind, going in open-minded.
Okay.
Now, he has undoubtedly become the star of the show, the one everyone thinks about when you think of Ghost Adventures. So he's kind of the main focus when we talk about it. Now, oddly enough, when it comes to Zach, there is not much childhood to be spoken about. Of course, he had one like the rest of us, but nothing really seems out of the ordinary. Mostly just growing up like the rest of us. Zachary Alexander Bagans was born on April 5th, 1977 in Washington, District of Columbia. So not Washington State, but D.C. He is American by nationality and comes from a mixed ethnicity with Italian, Czechoslovakian, and German heritage. He was born to his mother, Nancy Knapp, who works as a local interior designer, and he also has a sister named Meredith Bagans, with whom he's quite close. Now, I tried to look her up, and for some reason, when you look up his sister, people are putting pictures of Holly Madison.
What?
It's weird. I think I saw her, maybe. I'm not sure.
Super weird.
It's very weird.
Okay.
It's very weird. But
but she doesn't have to be in the limelight like her brother, you know?
she's not. I believe she's like the normal one.
Okay.
For lack of a better term. I don't know how to say that. Now, with an ordinary childhood, Zach claims to have had the existence of ghosts proven to him while he was living in an old apartment building in Trenton, Michigan during 2003. Now, every night at 3 a.m., he was awoken by the sound of a woman calling his name, Zach. And on the sixth night, he felt someone on his back, briefly rendering him unable to move. When he got up, he saw a figure shoot across his bed, so he ran outside into the parking lot. He would leave the apartment at a later date, but said that he came back later to find a maintenance man renovating that apartment. And the man would go on to explain that before the haunting began, there was a lady up in the penthouse across the road who had committed suicide in the bathtub at, you guessed it, 3 a.m. So this is kind of his origin story.
Okay.
This is like his kickoff. This is like, Paranormal Nightmare and the Ouija board. This is his jump-off point. His experience with a ghost gave Zach a desire to prove his claim of the existence of the paranormal. So a year later, Zach was to set out from Las Vegas, Nevada on a 3-week ghost hunting expedition across historic mining towns within Nevada to make a documentary called Ghost Adventures. And he would be accompanied by 2 other men, fellow paranormal investigator Nick Groff and, at the time, equipment technician Aaron Goodwin. However, for the first 14 days of their expedition, all they captured were some small, unexplained lights and sounds, and Nick and Aaron were actually beginning to lose interest quickly. But then, they entered Virginia City, Nevada, allegedly one of the most haunted cities in the United States. The team's first stop would be the Silver Queen Hotel, supposedly haunted by the aggressive spirit of a prostitute who committed suicide in room 11 by slitting her wrists in the bathtub. And Zach goes on to book that room because the ghost is said to have prompted people staying in room 11 to leave in the middle of the night. And you know how Zach is. If it's spooky, that's his room.
Yep, he wants to be there.
That's his jam. The hotel's manager, Darlene Domond, falsely claims to other visitors that the ghost is very friendly. However, she would tell Zach over the phone how this was not a friendly entity at all.
Wow, how rude.
Yes. And in the article that I got this from, it actually goes on about how he was actually very upset about this. Not that she told him the truth. He was actually upset that she had been lying to other people.
Good. As he should be.
So, if we had a little whiteboard, that's a check in his favor.
Okay.
Now, the team begins their investigation while Zach sleeps in room 11's bathtub, and Nick is on the bed and Aaron outside in their van. At 4 a.m., Zach would report to his camera that he is hearing what sounds like the tub filling up with water. And even though the faucet was clearly turned off and there was a loud banging noise on the wall next to the tub, he falls back asleep soon afterward, but Nick would later be awakened by unexplained noises at the foot of his bed. He focuses the camera in the sound's direction towards the room's door and records a slight, unexplained mist in front of the closed door, forming and disappearing briefly, accompanied by a slight knocking sound comprised of 3 rapid subsequent taps. 3. We all know. 3.
When it comes in threes.
Sign of the devil.
The knocking of the Holy Trinity.
Yes. Now, the next day, while walking along the town's boardwalk, the group interviews Joyce Cole, a direct descendant of the infamous, quote, Donner Party. This is where the team would find out that pretty much all of Virginia City is supposedly haunted. The team would arrive at the Gold Hill Hotel in Gold Hill, Nevada, to check in and talk with the hotel manager, Mandy, about the nearby miners' cabin they would be staying in that night, near a mine shaft named the Yellow Jacket Mine, reputably one of the most haunted places in the entire town. Mandy tells them how people say the ghosts of miners are still trying to mine in there because of the digging sounds that they hear. In 1873, 38 unnamed miners died at the mine when the mine caught fire and are said to haunt both the mine and the cabin. Now, the team would arrive at the miners' cabin, and the cabin, which was used as a changing room and an overnight bunkhouse by all the miners. While standing outside the cabin, they hear and record an unexplained metallic screeching noise emanating from the mine shaft in the distance. In the miners' cabin, Zach, Nick, and Aaron gathered, and Aaron leaves a tape recorder on a bed that is set to record for an hour after the 3 leave for their night of investigations. Now, the old Washoe Club has long been the site of serious activity and problems. We even covered it on our show.
We did.
Okay, with angry spirits constantly disturbing customers at the building's downstairs bars. The countless eyewitnesses have seen the apparition of a woman floating down the infamous spiral staircase. The old crypt underneath the building was used to stack and store dead bodies that resulted from disease and mining accidents in the late 1800s and is now used as a storage room for the bar.
Yikes.
Staff frequently report things being thrown down there. The second and third floors are not open to the public. The second floor ballroom in particular has been the site of such activity that a psychic that was hired to walk through there to communicate with the spirits claimed to come into contact with a very evil spirit and declared she would never return there again.
It's pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
The third floor was the location of the Millionaires Club. Yeah, this is a dark world of liquor, gambling, and prostitution in the late 1800s, and it was the site of several rapes and murders. The spirits and the old Washoe Club are assumed to be among the victims of the third floor and the corpses that were stacked in the crypt. So they've kind of decided who these people were and where they came from. With the second and third floor fully secured for their investigation, Zach and Aaron would begin by sitting in one of the rooms with a night vision camera and a digital recorder running while Nick would actually go investigate the entire building by himself with his own equipment. Immediately, Aaron takes some pictures that capture several transparent orbs. On a couple occasions, both Zach and Aaron think they hear noises, and Aaron soon reports feeling quite cold, while Zach actually feels quite hot, even though they're sitting right next to each other.
Interesting.
Now, they also think they see a light anomaly out of the window they are sitting next to, and Nick passes through the second floor ballroom, one of his EVP sweeps with his digital recorder with an infrared camera videotaping him leaving the room through the right exit. What the camera would record next would actually gain the team the notoriety that would kind of propel them. Extremely clear footage of a full-bodied apparition, a transparent, misty, human-like figure walking across the room, following Nick out of the room no more than 30 feet behind him.
Ugh.
And this is kind of like the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the claims of proof that the footage is showing an actual apparition is the fact that the entity crosses a window where the light from a building outside is visible to the camera, and that light slightly dims to the camera when the figure's head passes in front of it. With none of the guys aware of what was just captured on camera, Zach and Aaron would start searching for Nick through the club. As they enter through a narrow hallway near the bathroom, both of them suddenly experience feelings and sensations, with Aaron feeling very hot and Zach feeling very cold yet again. And soon afterward, they would meet up with Nick and end their investigation and review their footage at a later date, concluding that the location was indeed haunted. And I think that while I think the old Washoe Club has kind of had infamy for a long time, I think the fact that they were able to catch this in the then Ghost Adventures documentary is what really, gave the old Washoe Club some real standing with the paranormal community.
Right, because it's blown up in the paranormal community.
It's known to be one of the most haunted places
that's
to go.
Some top 10 lists for pretty much any ghost hunter.
Absolutely. Before the team had gone to Virginia City, Zach had made a call to the sheriff's office to obtain permission to film at the city cemetery. They would arrive at the cemetery at 10:30 p.m., where they were told that the gates of Virginia City Cemetery are kept locked because people would come from all over trying to catch a glimpse of what the cemetery was infamous for, which are alleged anomaly balls of light known as cemetery lights, and they would float above the gravestones. It didn't take long, but Zach, Nick, and Aaron would soon not only see a spherical cemetery light hovering in the distance, but would actually record it on their cameras. Now, they would be informed later that they were actually the first to have captured these lights on film and photograph.
Interesting.
Now, trying to figure out what they had just seen, they try an EVP session for several minutes and then head off. 10 minutes after they saw the cemetery light, they see another glowing light in the distance, and Aaron snaps a digital still image that captures a clearly defined, glowing, wispy shape hovering above the ground moments before it vanishes into thin air. Now, just like before, they immediately go over to where they saw it and find the burial site of a Native American with no other graves within 100 yards of it and try another EVP session. Now having two encounters and evidence of the cemetery light phenomenon, the team has no other sightings of unexplained glowing orbs, so they eventually sit against the wall of the monument at the top of the hill where the old caretaker's vault is located, with a camera recording them. After sitting around, they note that they hear the odd sound of someone faintly crying, and very shortly after, Zach claims to suddenly feel something invisible pull back on his left shoulder with extreme pressure. Shocked by the encounter, Zach would jump up, and all three men would seize the moment to run through the cemetery and come straight back to their van outside.
Yeah, I probably would.
We see that a lot.
I probably would too.
I mean, I would too. If something touched me in the cemetery, I would probably run past the van and just keep going.
Yeah, just keep running.
I just don't think that would sit too well with me.
No.
Now, later the team would head to the Goldfield Hotel, where Aaron could not make this trip, actually, and Zach and Aaron would go to the hotel by themselves. The plan was to have themselves be padlocked in for the entire night without any electricity or light at all. The Goldfield Hotel was the subject of a 2001 documentary named, quote, Scariest Places on Earth. And after meeting with many of the townspeople and hearing their stories and claims of what goes on here, Zach and Nick find themselves starting to doubt whether or not they actually want to be locked inside. After an extensive tour, the time has come for the team to be padlocked in for the night so Zach and Nick can begin their lockdown. Their plan is to investigate all 3 floors of the hotel, as well as the basement level. And Zach takes digital photographs everywhere while Nick follows behind him with his digital recorder. The first stop is in room 109, and this is where a prostitute named Elizabeth had met her fate. She was actually murdered here by a man who had gotten her pregnant, and he murdered her because he didn't want to have a baby with a prostitute.
Super sad.
Now, while in the room, the pair think they hear something from the outside in the hall, and Zach comes out and takes a digital photograph in the hall. He captures the image of a very large, defined, and perfectly round orb at one of the doorways, partially behind the door frame about 20 feet in front of them. Now, similar orbs would be caught all through this investigation, lots of them. They return to room 109, where Zach sits down against the wall and tries to communicate with the spirit of Elizabeth. When he raises his right hand to his chin, Nick's camera actually captures a very clear orb that floats along Zach's arm, and it follows its contours exactly, and it disappears once it passes his right elbow. Zach and Nick think they hear slight footsteps coming from the hallway outside, and this would lead them to the second floor. Walking through one of the hallways, they suddenly stop, and they both think they heard some sort of noise coming from both in front and behind them. While on their way to the stairway to the third floor, they stop because they think they actually hear it again. When they get to the third floor, both Zach and Nick suddenly think that they see a shadow person move at the end of the hallway, and that would sink back into the left corner. They rewind and review Nick's camera footage to see if the unexplained movement has been caught, and they find that the recorder has clearly captured a shadow person partially showing itself from the left corner of the hallway, and then they are both amazed to see that the recorder has captured it visually, moving back into the left corner out of view.
Wow.
So this is 2 on the same trip now.
Yeah.
2 apparitions, and that's... A lot of people don't even get 1.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, after years and years and years and years and years,
so this
they can keep going, and most people won't ever get something
So,
like
I mean,
that.
then there's still more story to go, but with this alone, it's no wonder how they got, how they made a name for themselves.
Absolutely.
Now, they eventually make their way into the basement, where after a while, they are both startled by the sound of something metallic falling nearby, which is recorded. And soon, they actually continue to hear and follow the slight odd noises they heard before. Now, they become on edge when another metallic thud is heard in the distance. They would continue to hear these noises, and it would eventually lead them into a particular room at the end of the basement. Both men's digital recorders would pick up yet another piece of evidence that would become infamous. Zach asks, quote, "Is that you making all that noise?" unquote. And a brick on the ground breaks every law of gravity by flying into the air on its own and is thrown into an opposite wall at high speed. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, a large board resting on a wall to the left is pushed over to the right by an invisible force, falling onto the ground flat, making a very loud noise. I've seen this.
Yeah, I do remember this.
Everything about this to me felt and seemed very authentic and real. So I just really remember seeing this.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. Now, understandably, they are both terrified enough that they run back down out the basement hall screaming. And for the next couple of minutes, while holding a still recording camera, Nick wanders around in a shocked daze, even as Zach yells out Nick's name repeatedly in the background. After the 5th time he calls out for Nick, an EVP is caught on Nick's camera. And then, after several more moments, a couple vocalizations from what sounds like a little girl are clearly heard on the recorder, before another loud thud is heard that would make Zach scream again. Now, the 2 men run to the front door and they try to get out of the building, but if we remember,
they're padlocked
the
in.
door had been padlocked as they had asked. They asked, So the 2 men go to the second floor and jump through the second floor fire escape to get out of the hotel. when the doors were unlocked the next morning by the manager, the building was completely empty.
Wow. Holy crap.
And this is pretty much the end of the documentary. That was kind of like the highlights reel.
Yeah.
You know, the documentary would go on to receive several awards, including the 2006 Grand Jury Prize for Best Documentary at the New York International Independent Film and Video Festival. It's huge.
Wow. Yeah.
And with a slew of evidence from apparitions, physical contact, residual noises, EVPs, and poltergeist activity, it didn't take long for the world to take notice, and it would ultimately catapult Ghost Adventures into stardom. It has to be noted that while Zach's dream to become a documentarian did eventually come true, he did end up taking different jobs that were far from his dream job. At one point, he even worked as a writer and as a wedding DJ. And even though in 2004, Zach had a remarkable year for his career, it ended up actually being the most challenging in his lifetime. His idea to film Ghost Adventures as an independent film faced severe financial turmoil, making it impossible to sell. For this reason, the film actually remained behind the curtain for a couple years until it found favor with the number 4 Real, all one word, production company later in 2006. It was this miraculous partnership that changed it from the independent film to an actual documentary. And the film received massive reception that in turn ended up propelling Zach, Aaron, and Nick to produce more, like the television show.
Yeah.
Now, since the original documentary, Nick Groff has unfortunately left the team, but this didn't slow Zach, Aaron, and the rest of the team down at all. Because in fact, this was just the beginning. And next, we are going to get into what's going on now at Ghost Adventures. So that is the story of basically where these guys started, because I had always wondered, what was it? I wanted to find, what I was looking for mainly was the moment that Zach had his, I'm a believer because of this.
Uh-huh.
And I really thought it was going to go way back into his childhood. And it didn't. And I was honestly a little disappointed by that he didn't really have it till he was older. And as much as I want to believe his story, I really wish it didn't come with the whole thing that revolved around 3 a.m.
Yeah. Because
when I hear 3 a.m., my brain instantly goes into, it's not real. Just because of all like the, because we have little kids and the 3 a.m. challenge.
Yeah.
Don't play Among Us at 3 a.m. or the imposter will come get, just stuff like that. So I really have
the witching hour and all that.
I mean, it is the witching hour, but I just have a hard time when I hear 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
But we are going to get into your part of this where we're going to get a little more personal with the players in this game.
Okay.
As you could say. So I think we should go ahead and just continue this over. What do you think?
All right. I'm ready. Let's do it.
And now, time for an ad break.
And now, back to our show.
So that was the documentary that would have started it all.
Yes.
So what are we looking at nowadays as far as Ghost Adventures?
Okay, so now you would be hard-pressed to find anyone these days who hasn't heard of the show Ghost Adventures. Since October 17th, 2008, Zach Bagans, Nick Groff, and Aaron Goodwin were essentially a household name. Later in 2009, the addition of Billy Tolley and Jay Wasley would help propel the show into superstardom. The show would go on to have many spin-offs such as Ghost Adventures Aftershocks, Ghost Adventures Where Are They Now?, Ghost Adventures Serial Killer Spirits, and Ghost Adventures Screaming Room, Ghost Adventures Quarantine, and many more under the GAC name. The show started on the Travel Channel before moving to Discovery Plus in 2021. Ghost Adventures began as an independent film, produced in a documentary style. It was filmed in 2004 and produced by 4 Real Productions in 2006. The Sci-Fi Channel premiered Ghost Adventures on July 25th, 2007. The film centered on the team's investigation of alleged paranormal activity in and around Virginia City, Nevada, including the Goldfield Hotel in Goldfield, Nevada. The crew would return there during the series' 4th, 5th, and 7th seasons.
Actually, one of the best EVPs that I ever heard from them, I believe, is in... Yeah, I'm going to play it at the end of the show.
Okay.
Because I actually came across it. Because I was like, oh, am I going to play EVPs at the end of this? And I actually came across it while I was looking. And it is, to this day, one of the scariest EVPs I've ever heard.
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
You're going to remember it when you hear it. You're going to be like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy. But not only that, but I also want to go back. We can't stress enough, like, there are so many more spinoffs to those.
Oh, absolutely.
There's
so many.
Tons. We didn't even mention Haunted Museum. Did you say Screaming Room Floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they did the Demon House and all kinds of other stuff. So many things.
We may actually cover the Demon House on this show at some point.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
I don't know. We'll see.
So Zach Bagans and Nick Groff, who would leave after season 10, Aaron Goodwin, Billy Tolley, and Jay Wasley investigate reportedly haunted locations, hoping to collect visual or auditory evidence of paranormal activity. Each episode would begin with the crew touring the investigation sites with its owners or caretakers. The introductions typically include Zach's voiceovers for the site's history, as well as interviews with people who claim to have witnessed paranormal phenomena there. On the basis of these interviews, the crew would go around and place an X with black tape or sometimes gray tape at the sites of some of the more serious alleged paranormal activity areas. They would later return to these spots in order to set up a static night vision camera to try and film the paranormal activity. After completing the walkthrough, they would discuss their strategy, then are typically locked in the location overnight, which they believe to prevent, quote, audio contamination and extraneous shadows. They use a variety of equipment, including digital thermometers, electromagnetic field meters, or EMF, handheld digital video cameras, audio recorders, the Ovilus device, point-of-view cameras, and infrared night vision cameras in an effort to capture evidence of ghosts. The members sometimes place what they call trigger objects and shout verbal taunts they believe ghosts might move or respond to. During the series, the crew claims to have captured and experienced various phenomena, which they say includes equipment malfunctions such as battery drains, voltage spikes, fluctuations, and electromagnetic fields, sudden changes in temperature such as cold spots, unexplained noises, electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, and even apparitions. The crew also claims to have recorded spirit possessions on video.
Boy.
Zach believes that he was possessed at the Preston School of Industry and at Pavaglia Island in Italy. Nick claims that he was overtaken by a dark energy at the Moon River Brewing Company. Goodwin claims he was, quote, under the influence of a dark spirit at Bobby Mackey's Music World and the Winchester Mystery House. Aaron is often left alone in the alleged hotspots during lockdowns to see how the spirits will react to him being alone. Poor Aaron.
He's always getting messed with.
Always.
Since the beginning. And in the beginning, Aaron was Aaron wouldn't even go on demonic hauntings.
Yeah.
Because he was very religious.
Yep.
And Zach would, every moment he got, he would shove him and lock him into like a dark cell or something.
Yep. He'd throw him in there and be like, okay, bye.
I'll back up a little bit. I remember when they used to put the X's on the floor. I don't think they do that anymore.
Maybe we just don't see it.
I don't think so. Because it used to be such a this is a spot. And then they would put the tape down.
Yeah.
I have to add my own sound effects right now. But they used to do that. And there's a lot of stuff on the show that they used to do that they just don't do anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like our show. It evolves and things change, but...
Oh, things change, all right. Like the possessions. I wonder if you went and looked back at this show every time Zach claimed to be possessed by something, did somebody else get possessed first? Did somebody else feel something first?
Yeah.
Because we know that seems to be a thing on this show, but whatever. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm trying.
As entertaining as it all is to watch the show, it has undergone a lot of changes over the years. From the style of investigations that they do, to the approach that they take, to even one of the original 3 cast members leaving the show. The investigators have even come under a lot of criticism and even claim that it's all fake and made for TV. Nick may not have been the center of attention during his time on the show, but his calm demeanor made him the favorite founding member of the Ghost Adventures team among the show's fans. It was definitely my favorite.
I think he was everybody's favorite.
Yeah, he was super great.
He still is.
Still is, absolutely, even on his own stuff. Miss you, Nick.
Since we will be in the future doing more groups and stuff again, we are going to have to cover Nick and his wife. And
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into it later.
So when Nick announced that he would not be returning to the show in 2014, many fans took to the internet with concern that the show would never be the same without him. However, fans who kept up with the team's social media pages weren't shocked to find out what had happened. As the show was reaching peak popularity, tensions grew between the members of the team, and Nick ultimately left because of the rising tension between him and Zach. While nobody from Ghost Adventures has come out to give the exact reason for Nick's departure from the show, it's clear that Groff and Bagans don't see eye to eye on most details of the show. First joined Ghost Adventures to fill several roles, most of which were behind-the-scenes jobs, such as exclusive producer, editor, and he even worked as a videographer. He also worked as a writer and co-creator in the show's early years. It was Groff who helped give Ghost Adventures the distinct appeal that differentiated the show from other paranormal shows of the time. While other shows felt like videos that random people made, Ghost Adventures had a more professional and dramatic cinematic feel. But despite all of his hard work, Nick often felt unappreciated and underrepresented on the show.
We appreciated you, Nick.
100%.
It is different from all the other ones, and it still is. But I think there's a little too much drama, a little too much cinematography in the beginning.
Yeah.
Not that there's not a place for it, but sometimes it just seems like too much.
And I think it didn't used to be like that, and I think
it didn't.
Much more recent years.
Yeah, it didn't. It's like they beefed up that beginning, and I truly believe that super edited movie-like feel at the beginning is what gives a lot of people that feeling of, is this real?
Yeah.
Because they try to make it, he tries to make it so spooky in the beginning, like it's a horror movie,
right.
I think it plays against them.
I don't know. It's ghost hunting and it's scary and I get it, but
we've said it before. Not every investigation is going to be a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why try to lead us to believe that before we've ever even started watching it?
Yeah, and I think most ghost hunting, anybody, it's like it's 50-50, if not less, chance that something's going to happen.
That's probably way less.
So that's just something to think about.
Yeah, I agree.
So although Nick did a lot of the work, the show about 3 seemingly best friends looking for evidence of paranormal activity felt more like a highlight reel for Zach Bagans, with the other 2 members sprinkled in. Since Groff didn't find the type of role he had originally hoped for with the show, he decided to go on to create his own show. Nick decided to create Ghost Stalkers. For the promotional material, the advertisement said that Nick from the show Ghost Hunters. For some reason, this would cause Zach to publicly comment about the problem he had with Groff using Ghost Adventures in his advertisements. However, it should be noted that in his Twitter post, Zach never directly addressed anyone, but he heavily implied that the, quote, someone shouldn't have used Ghost Adventures as part of their market poll.
Yeah.
Way
to hide it. Like, pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. It's like you didn't even really try to hide your feelings, but okay.
Right.
And he was part of Ghost Adventures, so like
he absolutely was. That's how he came to be in this paranormal world. So why not?
From everything I read, he was just as much a part of bringing Ghost Adventures to life as Zach was.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, if any of the three, it was him and Zach, where Aaron came in as an equipment manager.
Mm-hmm. And it was basically the two of them were the star of the show.
And you read off the list. Look how much stuff he did for that show.
A lot. So much.
Like he did like everything.
Yep.
So I don't blame him for feeling underappreciated.
Absolutely. Of course, this incident would cause big split in fans, but the show must go on. There was a lot of talk around the internet that Ghost Adventures was fake. We found an article from 12news.com. Quote, I was on Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans in Globe. This is what's real. End quote. Yes, it's all true. Nothing is scripted. The only moments that have a plan are the shots between the crew and the person they are interviewing. That's usually normal while shooting any story, even a documentary. The tears, anxiety, and worries are all real. But it's always good to get a second opinion. While there are a lot of articles that praise the Ghost Adventures team, it doesn't seem the reviews found online are all as glowing. While some fans will remain diehard until the show ends one day, not everyone feels the same. So we went online to find out what people thought about the show, and this is what we found. Commenter, JBRBS Mom. I don't know.
It's their screen names.
Yeah. On November 4th, 2019. Quote, this has to be the most boring show. The same thing happens every episode, and this is not meant as a spoiler. The entire crew drops the F-bomb every time there's a creak, groan, or the wind blows. So half the show is bleeped out, and the rest of the time, Zach uses the same words over and over. Example, we conclusively concluded at the conclusion of the investigation. End quote. Or, this compelling piece of evidence compelled us to, which means at the conclusions of this case, we were compelled to call this the most haunted and compelling place we have ever investigated.
So true.
Every show.
It is so true.
You really have a hard time taking the man seriously when he has a 25-word vocabulary. 3 out of 10 stars.
Dude, it is so spot on.
It is so true. Oh my God.
So compelling. I conclude that it is compelling.
I second that conclusion. All right. Commenter Adriana Hebert on July 3rd, 2021. Quote, for us real ghost show people, ghost snobs, it's so disappointing to have a show suck because of a person or personality. It was great when it was Ghost Adventures, but the Zach Bagans show sucks. 3 out of 10 stars. Commenter The Risky Business on April 25th, 2021 says, the show is pretty damaging to paranormal research by passing off questionable or downright wrong info as evidence of ghosts. It's become a drama show for that rock star Zach to look sexy and abuse the other hosts. The whole thing feels fake and forced, and there's far better on YouTube. 2 out of 10 stars.
That's pretty bad when they're like far better on YouTube, because this is a television show.
A produced television show, yes.
So far, I can't argue with any of these.
Well, we'll keep going.
Okay.
As episodes progressed, so did his narcissistic behavior. It's not a team of guys seeking to communicate with the dead any longer. It's all about Zach, and how he is affected at each location. It's sickening to see his angry drama burst over everyone else around. Kind of like sick husband, a wife can be sick, but he'll always be more sick. If they could get rid of the narcissistic drama attention queen, it would be worth watching again. 2 out of 10 stars.
Oof. They're getting worse.
Yeah. Commenter Curtis Ratcliffe, November 1st, 2019, says, "This thing is hilarious, especially the lead guy. He can hear a ghost voice from a fart from his special EVP equipment. This whole series is pathetic and has made some absolute charlatans very rich people. It's pretty pathetic, sad, and funny all at the same time. 1 out of 10 stars.
Even worse.
Now, I know from listening to our first episode about Ghost Adventures, it would seem that we are just picking on Zach all over again. But the reality is, these were the first 5 comments we found on the internet. So it's not just us. We've said it before, we absolutely love this show. But some things just can't go unnoticed. So what else is out there that we could find? On Quora.com, Craig Wheeler, an associate member of the Parapsychology Association's, comments, quote, "I saw a little bit of one show, and my eyes rolled back so far in my head, I almost hurt myself. That's not how it works. I've met with scientists who do actual scientific investigations, and not one of them takes shows like Ghost Adventures seriously. They've been approached because the producers were hoping to give their show some legitimacy. But the non-disclosure agreements are ridiculous, and all of them turn their offers down. It's entertainment. If that kind of activity were real, there would be no doubt about ghosts. One of the main differences is that a real investigator will never claim to have had experienced a ghost. They record what they experience and then investigate and record their attempt to see if it can be explained by ordinary means. They don't say, 'A ghost made a knocking sound.' Instead, they would say, 'A loud knocking sound was heard at 11:23 p.m. It sounded like wood on wood. It seemed to be coming from the kitchen, so I investigated to see what might have made that sound, but no one was in the area of the house at the time, and nothing was out of place. They have 2 cats, but they were in the spare bedroom, asleep. And that's it. A detailed account is necessary in case new facts come to light that could explain the sound.' Boring, huh?" In the same thread, on the same website, however, there's a comment from Jennifer M. Hullinger. Quote, "There were rumors that Ghost Adventures was exposed as faking evidence, but the truth is, they were only rumors. I do a lot of fact-checking on independent fact-check sites and learn there has never, in all these years, been a case where they were caught making anything up or faking evidence. In fact, quite the contrary. They have exposed a few people who are making up stories and faking their own evidence to try and get their 15 minutes of fame. Ghost Adventures called them on it every time. It is said that the original team broke up due to the fact the host channel was encouraging them to make their own evidence, when someplace that is supposedly known as haunted was uneventful on the day they were there. I actually did find some credible articles backing up that claim." End quote. And it has to be said that for as many people who go online and give bad reviews of the show, there are 1,000 more behind them that are praising them for what they do. It's no doubt that they have had some incredible moments on television. We don't even doubt that they are true believers in the paranormal. It has to be said, however, that we've all said it before, when you depend on ratings, things have to happen. Whether that be blowing something small out of proportion or making something up altogether, it's up to you. We can say the fact that they have 20 plus seasons and have yet to be proven fake is a real big plus for them. So like most every time we leave this up to you, the listener.
Be you a fan or not, do you think that they are real? Or is this whole thing just centered around Zach so he can be the star of his own show? Until something concrete comes out, I don't think we'll ever really know the answers to these questions. It is entertaining, and we would never tell anybody not to enjoy the things that they enjoy. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, was that a ghost? Was Aaron really possessed? Why is Zach so mean to Aaron? And of course, is it real?
So while we were researching for the show, I want to say that negative reviews are a lot easier to find than positive reviews. As a matter of fact, if you Google Ghost Adventure reviews, the ones you read are the first ones that pop up, and there is a mile long more of comments just like that.
Well, I'm sure, because, I work in a restaurant, and the people who enjoy their time there, their service, their meal, whatever, they don't always say, hey, I really liked that. But the ones who had a bad experience or didn't like things, they're always going to be the one that say something.
Well, I get
always,
that.
Always.
I get that.
Yeah.
But the other side to that is the only positive you can find are from literal news articles that say they went on an investigation. That the one you read isn't the only one. Mm-hmm. It's just the only one we put in there. There's a few more.
Yeah.
That say, it was mind blowing. It was totally real. Nothing's fake. But then when you go to the actual people, they all say different things.
Yeah.
I did try to look up to back up whether or not the show has been proven fake.
Okay.
And it has never been proven fake, which I will go back to the beginning and say that if I could have possibly said it was, I am wrong. They have never had that ghost hunters moment where somebody caught them in a lie.
Right.
They have always, Zach might be weird. And he might have a big ego.
Yes.
But to this day, he's never been proven to be a fake.
I mean, that's a good point.
And I think that what we didn't do in the original that was really a disservice to the show is that we let how we personally felt about Zach dictate whether or not we thought he was a real believer and if his show was real. And I think that's wrong, because I think really we needed to separate how we felt about him personally just because of who he is, and we needed to judge him off of the facts, which is what this episode was going to be about. We were going to tell the story of how it all started, and then he struggled, that he does have a story, that, there were reasons Nick left, but he's never been proven wrong.
Right.
He's called out other people. He's made a successful business. And I think the whole, spinoffs and blowing little things out of proportion, because he does do that. I will not let anybody tell me he doesn't.
Yeah.
He blows things out of proportion. And I think a lot of these types of things like that, every episode he's possessed, or if something happens to somebody, it happens to him, but way worse. It's stuff like that doesn't really help his cause any. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there's a reason they have 25 seasons.
It's so many seasons. Yeah, it's a lot. And I think to keep something like that going for so long, there's got to be something to it.
Yeah.
There absolutely has to be something to it.
And that's what I'm saying. There has to be some sort of legitimacy there.
Yeah.
Because when Ghost Hunters was caught faking on Alive, man, it killed that show. They were still around for years after that, but it was never the same. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't long after that the Grant left and things got weird. And so I mean, Zach has built an empire on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. As much as I have said in the past on this show that I just don't like him, I respect him for what he's done. I mean, he has really ran with it,
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
It is what it is. However we feel about him personally, we have to hats off to him. He did the thing. But we will have to get into the is it real portion. But I think first I want to play this EVP. And now,
yay,
I have heard this EVP obviously before. It is the scariest EVP that I have ever heard. And if you get a chance, you should go online and watch it for yourself. I don't know if it's going to feel weird because you're not going to be able to see, but if you go onto YouTube and you look up Ghost Adventures EVPs, there's one it's by the Travel Channel. It's going to be about a 4-minute long clip. And it says, demonic scream captured after summoning ritual goes wrong. I'm going to be honest, the summoning ritual itself feels super corny.
Yeah.
But they do play the audio side by side of the camera and then the recorder, so you can see them standing there with the recorder, but then hear what the recorder picks up. Now, if you're out there and you know how to fake this kind of audio evidence, please hit me up and tell me that it's just not real. Because to me, while the ritual thing felt cheesy, the EVP felt very authentic, and it is super creepy and scary, in my opinion.
Oh,
so what we're going to do is I think we're going to throw it over to the Travel Channel, and we're going to listen to this unsettling clip from Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
It creeps me out.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. I quickly put the SLS camera down and grab my recorder to see if I can communicate with this entity.
What came through? What is here? What connection do you have? What name are you connected to? Who brought you here? I hear Zach.
As I ask this entity who it's connected to, it clearly says my full name.
I hear Zach.
We are all totally unprepared for what is about to be the most terrifying audio evidence we have ever collected.
What the? Okay. Are you kidding me right now?
What was that? Never heard that. Never.
What brought you here?
I've never heard that.
I have never in my life heard anything like that. Never.
Dude.
What the?
Not good, guys.
It's not human at all.
So that is hands down like one of the creepiest EVPs I think I've ever heard.
So when he first starts asking questions, you got to realize, like, it's just him asking the questions. They don't play that back till later. You don't hear anything in the room.
No, in real time, you don't.
Absolutely
that's
nothing.
Definitely not there.
Yeah, that very initial first line of questioning is literally just them in the room.
And they're playing it back in the middle of the investigation. So
yeah, like directly after.
I'd be very curious, like, because you watch him record it and then you watch him play it back. So I'd be very curious. How would you fake that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
By far, one of the creepiest EV. You saw me while we were listening. I was pulling my headphones off. I don't like that.
It is creepy.
And
it's something, for sure.
There's over a decade's worth of investigations on, from Ghost Adventures. So you do your own research and gather your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of evidence to choose from. But I'm saying that because it's time that I ask you a question. And that question is it real? Well, Megan, we have revisited our very first episode of Ghost Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And we've heard a lot of things that come from praise to not so much praise. We've heard, the breakdown of the documentary and why Nick left and everything. So what do you think about Ghost Adventures?
Well, like we've said, we enjoy the show. We watch the show. And I think initially everything was absolutely real. I think everything was genuine. Now, fast forward to in the last 5, 6, 7 years ish. I think some of their evidence is real. I do.
Okay.
I think some things are real that they catch. Do I think most things are amped up and put into this crazy weird category? Yes, I do. Do I think they fake actual evidence? No, I don't. I don't think they fake the evidence. I think the reactions to a lot of it are definitely not real. But I think the majority of the actual paranormal evidence that they catch is real.
Wow.
I do.
That's a big difference from the first time we did this.
I do. And like you said, we put our feelings about Zach ahead of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. The evidence, the actual physical evidence and the audio evidence that they catch, I believe it is real.
Okay.
I do. What about you?
Well, the first time we did this, I'm pretty sure did we even ask each other back then if we think it's real?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Not sure if I'd have to go back and listen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we did. So this could be the first time we actually say whether or not we think it's real. I think I'm always going to stand by, if you're a TV show, you depend on ratings and things have to happen or people won't watch. I mean, we have sat here in our house and tried to be like, is something here? And had nothing happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that there is something here, right? How is it they manage to get something every single place they go? Major stuff, too. Not even always just small stuff, but major stuff. I don't want to get too far off of this. So, in regards of, do I think it's real? I believe that they believe. I do. I do believe that they believe. I don't think that they would be this enthusiastic about it. I mean, because even making money after this many seasons, it'd still be hard to maintain that.
Yeah.
But do I think the show is real? You know, I'm kind of split on it. I'm 50-50.
Okay.
I could see it going either way, honestly. I think some stuff is real because I think out of just pure dumb luck, if you're at every haunted location in the world, you're bound to catch something.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, I think we have been presented things that could come off as evidence that are just beefed up for the ratings process of it. You know, like there's a group on YouTube called the Ouija Brothers, and they're these British guys, and they have a YouTube channel where they do investigations. And I remember watching a video from them once where they took an EVP, and you got to listen to it, and you could hear crystal clear what the voice was saying. But the problem was that the reason he played it was because then he showed the video footage of it. It was a water drop.
What?
And the water drop with the echoes in the room and wherever they were, it was like in a cavern or something. It made it sound like it was saying something, but so clear that when you didn't know what it was, you could hear what it was saying.
Oh.
So there are things like that in the environment that can cause, because if your brain perceives it as a word, that's what you're going to hear.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I do believe they believe. And I would be confident enough to give them the benefit of the doubt to say that they're really investigating. I think they really are doing investigations.
I agree with that, yes.
I just think that they are amping a lot of things up for the show. But I'll say yes, they're real. I think they're real.
Okay.
I think they're real, but I do think they're pulling some TV
drama.
Not fakery or trickery, but they're just, they're making it entertaining.
Yes.
They're making it entertaining. And I still feel the way I feel about Zach Bagans. I just can't not. It's just, I think the kind of personality he is and the kind of personality I am would just, they don't go together.
Yeah.
And I find him to be quite egotistical and maybe that's what helps the show. I don't know. And whatever, good on him. I respect him. He did well for himself, but yeah. whatever. That's how I feel.
Wow.
So
I wasn't expecting that.
I guess this means we're actually going to give
Ghost Adventures.
The big old seal of approval.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So while we might not like him, I guess we have to give it up to him a little bit, because
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Tiny little bit.
I still miss Nick on the show, though.
Oh my God, yes.
Whatever. I don't think we're ever going to get him back. But so this is it. We came back. We did it I think we did a little more with it. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that we're rounding off our first year already.
I know.
And I can't wait to get into our second year and see how much farther it goes from here.
I know. I am proud of us.
Yeah. We stuck with it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you really had this idea, and I was very hesitant to do so. And, the beginning was a little rough, but I think most shows, most podcasts,
they all are rough.
Anything like, and we just kind of were like, okay, we're going to do it. And we sat down and just started talking. and we've developed our show into our little baby.
And that's why we wanted to do it.
I love it.
That's why I wanted to kind of like do this one kind of like in the beginning, to where we are more developed than we used to be, but I wanted to kind of do it in the style that we did back then. And I thought it would be fun. And again, like I said, if this isn't your favorite kind of episode, don't worry. We're not staying with this. We just wanted to go back and revisit the beginning, but we will be going back to our regular ways after next week. So
well, I enjoyed this. I did.
I did too. It
I
was
really
a lot of fun.
did. And you wrote a very good show.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So where can they find us?
They can find us on Instagram at @forthebooze_podcast and on Facebook at @forthebooze.
You can also find us at Twitter at @forthebooze and over on the Tubes of You at @forthebooze if you'd like to watch a little screen and listen. And don't forget, you can send your spooky stories. Still trying. I'm hoping we get one for maybe like the last episode of the year. And show suggestions and everything like that. Say hi, whatever, over to forthebooze12@gmail.com. And I guess they should give us 5 stars.
Rate and review.
5 stars wherever you listen. Hopefully on Apple Podcasts. The stars. It's just what's needed to move up. And if every one of you did it, we'd have a real nice little boost in it, and it would be nothing better than to end our first year with a bunch of new reviews. So that would be awesome. So leave the 5, say something nice or something mean, as long as it's got 5 stars. It's fine.
Your support means everything to us, and we really, really appreciate you guys over the last year. And I guess this means we will see y'all in the next one.
I guess we'll see you in the next one, Booze Crew. We outie.
Bye.
Bye.